All right, everybody, welcome back.
Yes.
One more episode for you guys for 2018.
It is our series or season finale.
Season finale. Let's hope the series finale isn't coming for quite some time.
No, it's season finale.
Yeah.
It's our holiday special.
It is our holiday special,
yes. Yes, indeed.
No, we're super excited about this interview. It's really special to us because it was our first in-person interview that we got to do.
Yes. And we got to do it with Active Bird Community. And we sat down with Zach, Tom, and Andrew before their show at the High Watt in Nashville, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And we got to talk about their album Amends.
Yeah. In the process of making amends and everything in between. So we hope you guys enjoy it.
All that I know is time's moving slower than ever before. I can't get to know her, and everything's always a drunk mess in hallways. It never feels right in the end. Maybe when I'm older, this weight on my shoulders will sink down beneath me. You'll whisper so sweetly that nothing was ever pretend. And I know in my heart, when you pick me apart, nothing feels better. Nothing feels better.
So, we're rolling.
I'm Zach. Nice to meet you guys. The band started at a very young age. Me, Tom, and Andrew all grew up in a small town called Hastings-on-Hudson, New York, just outside the city in Westchester. We all just grew up together. We had another drummer at the time who was the fourth grown up together guy, but he ended up leaving and we picked up Quinn.
On the side of the road?
Yeah, we picked up Quinn. We were hitchhiking on the Sawmill River Parkway, and we just scooped him up.
Yeah.
No, but we've been playing since we were little kids, and we did it, we all had an interest in music, so I think, originally it was just something we all really enjoyed doing, and it's that's even more fun when you can do it with your friends.
Yeah.
And then in high school, we really started, taking it somewhat seriously, and, we're just doing anything we could to play in the city, because we were just a train ride away, and, it was still, we lived in the suburbs, so it was very much, a separate, thing.
Right.
Going into the city. So, that was just a huge goal of us, was to just get into any of those rooms where we were seeing all of our favorite bands play.
Yeah.
And then in college, we kept playing, and then we graduated, and now we're here. I feel like I left out probably a lot.
Yeah, there was a shitload that you left out.
I can't really...
No, I'm kidding.
That's the whole segment, if you guys want the whole story.
Yeah. This is Tom. Nice to meet you guys. I guess the only thing you left out, in college, we went to different colleges. So I went to Fordham in the Bronx, and then Zach went to Oberlin in Ohio, and Andrew went to New Paltz, upstate. And I think that was initially a little tricky because we knew we wanted to keep the band together, but we had to make a lot of conscious decisions to do that. And I think Zach had to travel back to New York a bunch of times for shows. But it kind of helped because he had a footing a little bit in the Midwest, so we could work our way, do little tours and stuff. But I think in college, that was a crucial time for us to stay together because we very easily could not have. And I think once we graduated, we were okay, let's give it. I remember you were let's just give it a year. Zach was let's give it a year to just after we graduate to see if this is something worth doing. And if we're in the same place in a year, then we'll hang it up and we tried. But I think luckily, we got a series of little wins that kind of became bigger wins, and it became something okay, this could be, if we all say yes, this could be a career if we try really hard. So I think that was really important to give it that shot. And now we're here, and now we're just I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah.
You can't make me.
Yeah.
But also, being separated also put us in a position to make very conscious decisions about what we were going to do when we were together. So, we planned very specific, New York tours and Northeast tours, and we really capitalize on any second we were all in the room together to, to make the most of it. And, luckily, it being, 2018 or whenever we were in college in 2013, 2012, there's video chat and all this stuff, and like it's it has become so easy to keep in touch with people. People walk around the streets FaceTiming all the time. So that was like I think like really helped us just like stay in touch and in contact and plan and just like be in each other's lives in some way when we weren't physically in a room together. So that was really cool, and that helped.
And also, I feel like there was some like evangelizing going on at each school, like spreading the good news. Like Andrew, especially, I feel like at New Paltz.
I'm pretty sure every time I opened my mouth, it said Active Bird Community. So I was just hoping that people, no, like literally that
shit helped. It was good.
Well, it's hard when you're excited about something to not tell.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we were coming off of like a few projects. Like that senior year, we were like, we didn't know it was gonna happen the next year, so we wrote so much and recorded like I don't know, like 2 EPs and an album or something like that. And we were just
In
like,
high school?
Yeah, like right before we went to college. So
Yeah.
like getting to college, we were like, okay, what is my life? I have all this shit behind me, like all these albums and whatever, and just like I don't know. I was psyched.
Yeah, as you should be.
Yeah.
How did you guys get the name Active Bird Community? No fame.
Well, for one, we have been Active Bird Community since middle school.
Nice.
We had a few different names. We don't have to say them.
We don't
Right?
have to go through that.
Regardless, we were Active Bird Community when we were like 13. We started the band when we were 11. And I guess like the best way to explain it is like Tom was playing a show with his dad's musician friend, and they didn't have a name for the project. They were just like gonna play a gig in New York City. And like before they went to the show, they were sitting in the park, and his friend Neil saw a bunch of birds, and he was like, "Oh, isn't that an Active Bird Community? Oh, wait, we should be Active Bird Community next." So they did it. At the show, it was like nothing. There was like one video of them playing.
It wasn't nothing, but whatever.
It wasn't. I mean, it was. I'm just saying, like, it wasn't.
Formative moment.
Lord,
It wasn't like the most special
It
night of my
wasn't
life.
not. It wasn't nothing, but in my head, like as a kid, I was like, "Oh my God, Tom's leaving the band for this." Like it was like this whole, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was really they were just like playing a gig. So I think that the jealousy there of like, well, Tom's gonna be in it. I was like, we're Active Bird.
Right.
You know what I
Right,
mean?
yeah.
Like I'm not sure if I definitely wanted to take that name
I never
and
knew-
make
I
sure.
never knew that.
Really? Yeah, I wanted to cut that project out of his life.
Holy shit.
You didn't know that? Yeah, yeah.
No.
So I was like, we're Active Bird Community.
Yeah.
I just
And
thought,
I'm pretty sure
yeah.
at the time I was like, I think it sounds better as the Active Bird Community. And Tom was like,
Doesn't.
no. And it worked out because of ABC. So.
I was gonna say, I love the ABC part of it.
Well, that's a coincidence. Yeah, that's a very nice coincidence, I think.
Yeah.
But as you can see so whenever that's probably the most frequently asked question at an interview. I'm happy to answer it every time. I think that the story sucks. Like
It's true.
It's a shitty story.
It's like, what are we gonna do? Make it up?
We lie sometimes, just make up other
That's
ones.
what, the new approach that we're trying to maybe work into it is that when we ask, we make something up every time.
Yeah.
So it's like a different, and so like people ask it because they want to hear
Our
what
lies.
responses. So Tom,
Yeah.
make it up.
Yeah.
What's
Why? Where does the name
Where's the
Active Bird
yeah.
Community come from?
This is why you need Quinn in the room.
Yeah, where's Quinn?
Yeah. I'm not gonna make it up right
alright.
now.
Well, next interview.
Also, I don't know how I feel about that strategy because it's like really what we're saying is whenever someone asks us this question, we're gonna just lie to them,
Yeah.
and then we'll just lie every time. And then we'll be the band that lies.
I want it to be like a self-aware lie, like everyone.
Like a little
knows,
joke that people are in on?
Everyone knows, like you're only being asked the question because you're getting that like a different.
I think to piggyback off of that, we should have like really in-depth knowledge of like certain bird communities and like act like that is such an important part of the band is like that obsession with birds. I think if we did that, then these questions would go a lot smoother.
Alright, I'm
You'll
loving
make like
this.
fans fight over it. Like, no, I heard that they named it after like
Exactly.
cardinals.
Yeah.
Now I like
They named it after Blue Jays.
People will listen to the interviews just to hear why, like,
Very
each
true.
lie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, which one is the truth?
Alright, let's do it.
All right.
Let's do it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, next time.
Next time.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited to hear the next.
Lie.
We gave you the idea on your.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right here.
So I think across each of your records, you guys have maintained a really strong sense of identity sonically, which I think a lot of bands kind of struggle to find. Do you think playing together for so long has contributed to that?
Yeah, I think it has. I think it's hard to tell because I think for us, every time we make a record, it's kind of like we always want to do something different, like we tell ourselves we do. Or like, I want them to be different from that one in this way. I want it to be like this as opposed to what that was. Or like just make some sort of new progress in a way. And I think from a young age, we were kind of just like mad chefs, just kind of like picking all these different things. And like every song kind of sounded like it could be on a different record, which is kind of cool. And I think if people are into that, that's awesome that we have that in our catalog or whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it's nice to, like you're saying, kind of carve out a little bit of an identity. And I think that really just comes from the time that you spend together. And we learned, I think, a lot about music through our band. Like, we grew up within it.
Yeah.
So our understanding of music very much came through the lens of us trying to be songwriters. So I think, I don't know, maybe if we joined this band or formed it, like Andrew, you've said this before too, like if we started the band 6 months ago, it might even be more cohesive, you know, because it's just like we're all adults and we're all just like, this is what we want the band to be like. I'm like, okay, cool, like play that, and then it would be that, whatever that is. But I think, I don't know, we have this kind of track record of like, ooh, we like ran into that wall, and like, oh, we opened that door, and like, oh, I fucking shat my pants on that record, and then now that's cool. Like you can do.
Which record was that?
The one I shat my pants.
Yeah.
The self-titled EP.
Oh, okay.
But I think, yeah, I don't know. It's cool that you think that it sounds cohesive in that way, or that there is an identity. That's I appreciate that.
I think you do a really good job of like all your records sound polished, but they still maintain a really like raw kind of, almost like demo-ish kind of stuff, which I love because it feels so much more layered than like the really like sterile, like clean records.
I hate that.
Yeah, it's like hospital hallways. I don't like it. Yeah.
I think a huge part of that is owed to Chris, who's our producer, Chris Daly, and he's very good at that because he's very opinionated about what he does, but he's also very open-minded, which is hard to find, I think, in a producer. I think it's either one or the other most of the time. You got a producer that's just like, you're paying me, like, go have fun, you know, they're like a chaperone.
Right, yeah.
Or you have someone that's just like, you don't know what you're talking about, like, let the adults make your record for you. Both of those suck. So Chris has aspects of both, but like he is very willing to get into a whole debate with you, mainly Andrew, about certain ideas. Even if he thinks they're completely wrong, he'll like see it to its conclusion, and then we'll make a decision as a group about it.
Right.
And I think that's something we're very conscious of is, you know, I think he, for whatever reason, thought that tapping into that raw quality would best suit our band, and I don't think that's something we would have necessarily understood from the inside. So having him be like, because we made other records with other producers, and he was like, why are you making these fucking like alternative pop records? Like, I don't know what you're doing. Like, come to my house and like we'll make this sound cool.
Yeah.
It was pretty much what he told us.
Which is
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, and that's also part of our history. Like meeting Chris definitely changed this band's life, I guess, kind of. You know, he's kind of like the weird like fifth member of the band.
For sure.
And we love him so much.
Awesome.
Yeah, we made I've Been Going Swimming, Stick Around, and Amends with him.
Oh wow. Okay.
And he recorded other stuff in
Yeah.
between. But we love him, and he's made great records.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because even on Amends, like downstairs, like all the noise that's happening.
Yeah.
That's in
background,
the house, yeah.
That's
That is, like,
his
so
bicycle.
cool.
Yeah.
He's
Really?
That's so
and
dope.
shit.
Yeah.
We had to do, that's funny, because we were like, okay, we want to have like a bunch of talking in it, but we don't, it's like really staged to like try and start a conversation knowing you're being
Right.
recorded. Like, how do we do that? We all got like into pretty much a debate about what we were going to pretend to talk about, and he recorded that the whole time.
Yeah, he's like, I was recording.
Yeah, and we're like, wait, what? He's like, we got it. And we're like,
Yeah.
We're like, play it back.
yeah.
Let's hear it. Let's roll it.
Yeah, and we all were walking around the house like on the stairs.
Yeah, just walking
and,
up
like,
and down.
We had like the drum
stairs.
mics on, and
Yeah.
like we're shaking our keys.
So
That's
we
so
actually
cool.
recorded Amends. So I've Been Going Swimming and Stick Around were in his house, recorded in his house in New Paltz. Amends we recorded out in San Diego at Lost Ark. But we did a few things in New Paltz, so that was like one of the things that we got to.
Kind of bring it back into that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Which was awesome.
That's awesome.
What are some of your major influences, both individually and as a band?
Personally, My Twin Peaks is my favorite band fucking ever. Those Jews rip it. I don't necessarily think that our sound is influenced by them. Like, they seem like a little bit more on the classic rock end of things. They definitely experiment with some stuff, and I love it. But to me, I've always been most inspired by, you know, their success at such a young age, because, you know, those dudes didn't go to college and they kind of came out of high school and just started doing it, which was something I was always jealous of, but also, like, admired from afar for a long time. So that band for sure for me.
When I go to a show, I usually, like, some people go and they're like, oh, I concentrate to the composition, or, you know, like the sound, overall sound or whatever. I'm just all lyrics. Like, when I am at a show, I'm just listening to lyrics. And so I'm just really influenced by, like, female singer-songwriters from, like, the 60s and 70s. So we make totally different music than that kind of stuff, you know. Joni Mitchell, Laura Nyro, Judy Sill. There are so many. And there are a lot that weren't big at the time, you know, because the industry was so male-dominated. So it's really cool these days because I feel like we love female singer-songwriters or female fronted bands. And it's so cool that there are so many. And it's just inspiring, you know. But there are a lot that just didn't get attention in the 60s and 70s, and that's where I pull my influences because, I don't know, I just love it.
Yeah, that's really true. I think about, like, because everyone, like, has their favorite band that they're like, I wish I was that band, and I think if I'm looking at it from that perspective, Built to Spill would be that for me. And I think, because I'm just so, like, in awe of what they can just do with just guitars, like guitar music, because I feel like that's so, like, you see a dude with a guitar, you're like, I know what this is going to sound like. And for the most part, you're right. And it's, like, it can be hard to make that seem, like, orchestral almost. And not, like, in a prog way, where it's, like, we're going to just fucking loop, like, as many crazy solos as we can. Because that can give me, like, kind of, get me nauseous sometimes. But I think something about Built to Spill, his, like, weird kind of, like, conductor style approach to, like, what he can get out of just all these different riffs, and, like, everything he plays is really catchy, and, like, I just, that's, like, a direction that I've always wanted to go with this band, is to just, like, you know, we all love playing fucking guitar, like, how can we make this, like, a little bit more creative?
Yeah.
But I think in terms of, like, it's interesting you say that about being so like, attached to lyrics and stuff, because that's something that never really resonated with me, maybe as much as it should have, being someone who writes lyrics, but I think that's something that I'm definitely paying a lot more attention to now, especially with what seems like this kind of new wave of, like, female singer-songwriters and female-fronted bands, and, like, I just, you know, like, when when Boy Genius happened, like, when I read that, like, I felt like I was on a roller coaster. I was like, this is insane. It's so
too much,
good.
like, perfection.
It's too much, right? It's, like, it's so beautiful, and it's always so genuine and heartfelt, and, like, all of their voices are, like, you know, have so many, like, huge and also subtle differences, and it's just something about that I think we really connect over is, like, I don't know, something about the female voice in that context is just, like, so powerful.
Going back to that, listen to Samia and Shannon Moser. We're on tour with them right now. They're super inspiring, powerful female singer-songwriters, and we're so happy that we can tour with them.
Yeah.
And it's been such a blessing hanging out with them and listening to their music and listening to their lyrics and their beautiful freaking voices.
Yeah.
It's been great.
It's nuts.
Yeah, well,
I'm excited to hear it, yeah.
So, stick around. Did you guys release that when you were in college or when you got out?
In college.
Well, it was like the last month of college.
Okay.
Yeah, 2016.
Or no,
2017?
We were out of college.
We recorded it, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, we were.
This is, like, not too long ago.
Yeah.
Years ago.
We graduated school, and then, like,
A summer and a
9
fall
months
went
later.
by.
A lot of time.
Yeah.
9 months later, we released it, and it was our first sold-out show ever.
Was that a release show?
It was
Yeah.
a release show for that record in New York. So that was a big one.
Yeah. I love that album because I feel like it encapsulates perfectly that anxious trepidation that you have about, fuck, my whole life is led up to college, and, like, you're going to be everything in college, and then, like, you're out in the real world, and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And But I thought it was interesting because that only came out in 2017. This was a pretty quick turnaround time for you guys to get from there. Amends now. Did some of those themes still play into Amends?
I think, yeah, it's so fun, like, it's so interesting, because that does seem like a short amount of time on paper. But, dude, the year between Stick Around and right now feels like a fucking decade of, like, crawling through, like, hell and back and stuff, and it's, like, so weird.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's like...
Yeah, maybe we should have waited a little bit for Amends.
No, I would have quit. But I think, yeah, it's hard not to... Like, it's interesting when people say, like, this isn't a concept record, like whoever that would be. Like, it's not a concept album, it's just, like, a group of songs. But I think the way that we've approached music is, like, it's gonna be... It's hard for us to not at least string some sort of narrative throughout it.
Right.
Or at least kind of retroactively assign a narrative to it. Be like, oh shit, I think this is all kind of coming together like this. Like, I think this record means this in a certain way. So I think Stick Around, we kind of figured that out kind of halfway through the process, that like this is kind of what it's about. And the song Stick Around didn't even get recorded until the last day. It wasn't even going to make the record. We had this other song.
I want to hear it.
I don't.
Encore tonight.
It was bad. It was a bad song. It was really loud and was just like
Dark.
We were gonna end it with like a real like.
It was just like this dark
rocker,
butt rock, like stupid song. But it wasn't working, and we were luckily our producer Chris was just like, we should go on the porch and take a break. And then Andrew was like, I got a song. And we're like, okay. And he played Stick Around, and we all like cried, and we're like, let's go. Let's do it.
Yeah, that's it.
But I think, to answer your original question, like, if Stick Around was this kind of idea of what am I going to do when my life is supposed to start, and if all that shit before was just some sort of prelude to what my life is now, that's not exactly true. That's not really how the life works. But I think Amends is trying to dig a little bit deeper into what that prelude was and kind of how that affects moving forward. So it's kind of like taking a more detailed look backward and using that as a way to reflect a little bit more on who you are right now and who you're becoming, I think.
I like that it's named Amends, because I think that like when any artist makes any kind of body of work, it's like they're trying to make amends either with like themselves or like some existential thing or other people. So what were kind of some of the things that you guys were trying to make amends with on this record?
I think for me, it's hard. That record, or the songs that I have on that record are like really personal to me and like deal with a lot of things that I don't necessarily feel comfortable talking about all the time. But I think this record has helped me honestly deal with that a little bit more. But I think for me it would be mostly my relationship with my mom. Parents got divorced when I was really young, and that was kind of like, it can't help but impact like your concept of like what family and home means.
Yeah.
And there is this impulse, I think, to blame your parents for like them not really knowing what the fuck they were doing, and to kind of like harbor that. And I think for the majority of my life, when I wasn't feeling the way I thought I should be feeling, or I just felt like shit, I would just blame that. And I think this record was trying to take a more mature look at that and be like, nothing is that simple. Everything's complicated, and it's based on certain contexts, and it's way easier to try and reach some sort of middle ground, or just kind of look at your life and the relationships within it and be like, this is okay, this is fine, this could be way worse. Like, it's just easier and I think more empowering to feel that way.
Yeah.
So I think that's why that was kind of that. I start with that relationship with my mom, and I think I tried to build outward with that in mind.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
Yeah, I love Tom's songs on it. Like, I love the fact that he wrote about his mother, and I think I really felt something from that story, and it was kind of like an interesting thing when he brought it to the table, because we usually... I'm like, all right, I'm going to sing about myself and my love life. Are you going to do the same?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to sing about my mom. I'm like, whoa, my song's going to sound weird, I guess. But it was just so refreshing when he brought that. I thought it was so, like, innovative in a way, at least in our world. For me, though, I think a lot of my songs in ABC are super introspective. and it's hard for me not to write in that kind of universal introspective lens. So I was trying to make amends with myself, you know. I stopped drinking about a year ago, so in November it's going to be 1 year. And and it's been great, and I feel really great, and making amends kind of like saved my life and changed my life. And me and Tom were talking about this yesterday, and I don't know, Amends is the kind of album that, like, for one, we think it's crazy that it's out. You know, we're like, oh my god, it's in the world. We've been listening to it on a SoundCloud link for like a year, you know? So it's just, for me, it's the kind of album that, like, I'm still being changed by it, playing it every night, and it's honestly, like, the most important album I've ever been a part of.
I mean, it's an interesting question for me specifically, just because, like, they write the words, Andrew and Tom, and, you know, Quinn with one song on this record, you know, they write the words that are being said. So, you know, musically, like, you know, I have my own contribution, but in terms of, like, what, you know, the meanings are behind the songs or the concept of the album isn't something I, you know, necessarily contribute to off the bat. But being within this world, you know, I get to take what they're saying and try and interpret it in my own life, which I think what, like, most listeners do, which is cool to be in the project but have, you know, that kind of outside point of view where it's like a little bit more detached, so, like, you know, I have a bit, like, you know, maybe a clearer head, and just, like, how I want to interpret what these two guys are saying. I mean, I also grew up with them, right, so, like, a lot of what they're talking about I was around to see in some capacity or knew about, but again, it's not me, you know what I mean? So for me, you know, I like to think that, you know, I make amends with a lot of the frustrations in my life, just in general. I don't, you know, we all have very different family histories and backgrounds, even though we all grew up in the same place, which is kind of crazy. But, you know, there are a lot of moments in my life where I wanted to give up on what I was doing, or really just, like, confused on, like, what my purpose was. And those are, like, the hardest moments to, like, navigate through emotionally, just being so, just, like, confused, but, like, confident and ambitious, but, like, discouraged, you know what I mean? So for me, Amends, like, helps me cope with, you know, those moments of, like, you know, just, like, deciding to just believe in yourself versus, like, putting yourself down.
Totally.
Does this album feel more, like, therapeutic to you guys to play on stage every night, like,
So
compared
much.
to, like, other things that you guys have?
I think, like, with a lot of other records felt like, all right, we have to make a better first impression than our last first impression, is kind of what they felt like. And, you know, I was worried, like, are people even going to like this song, blah, blah, blah. With this record, I'm just like, finally we get to say this, and we get to show it, and we get to, like, really experience it. An example would be, like, last night in Asheville, North Carolina, and we played in this little outdoor space, and it was kind of just, like, people at picnic tables, like, drinking beer, and, like, the sound guys, like, if you play too loud, they're gonna leave, like, just, like, take it easy. And at first we're just like, oh, great, they booked a band that's really fucking loud for this. But we kind of all just, like, we're standing there, we're, like, looking at, like, I guess, like, the Smoky Mountains or whatever, and, like, the sun was setting, and we're, like, playing our songs, like, kind of really soft, and, like, you could hear everything, and, like, could really, like, felt really close to the songs in that way, performing them. And we could have been alone in a room. It could have been, like, it didn't matter in the real world how we were doing, or if the record's going well, or, like, all of these weird factors that play into, like, your weird idea of success. It was just very much about, fuck, like, I like these songs, like, this makes me feel good, and, like, I don't know, it was, like, a very, like, visceral thing.
It's been really cool, because during this tour we've started with Amends and then ended with Lighthouse, kind of like the album. And so we'll get off stage and Tom will play Lighthouse, and I don't know, like, to me this has been, like, the best tour I've ever been on, especially because we've become friends with Samia and Shannon, and we've just been having a great time. But, like, watching Tom sing Lighthouse is just going to be, like, a memory that I'll always go back to, like, just being able to see that. It's been cool. Love you, man.
quota this month? How many lives will you disrupt? Let's keep it to one and say it's enough. And you don't have to be the one who's choking. All you used to know. Now nervous hands are on my skin. Spread them over me again, 'cause I can't feel that much. And now you're really over there, and I'm 1,000 pounds of scared. I'll fuck this up.
What is your go-to song or album to listen to when you find yourself in a state of either internal or external chaos?
Oh god. Honestly, Quinn's not here, so in his absence, I'm going to say "In Rainbows" by Radiohead. That was honestly the first time I got like grounded as a kid, or like I guess a high schooler. Like me and Andrew got caught smoking weed all the time, and like it was a fucking disaster every time it happened. And one of the times, my parents were like, "You're
So
fucking
true.
grounded, dude. Like, go in your fucking room, get out of here." And so I was like, "All right, fuck." And I just remember being like such a pissed off high schooler, being like, they don't get it.
Yeah.
And like I turned all my lights off, and I just like blasted that album, and was like, "You don't understand me." So that album, because of that moment, now like I have returned to it in those moments.
I love you so much.
That's
That's amazing.
I'd say "Blonde" by Frank Ocean. That song, that album is just so goddamn sad, but it's so good, and you just like sink into that world. I love it.
I think for me, it'd probably be "Keep It Like a Secret" by Built to Spill. It's just one of my favorite records, but I can listen to that record when I'm feeling kind of like bummed out and I don't know what is going on, and I can just be like, Doug Marsh will figure it out for me. Like, it's okay. Like, he'll just shred and I'll be okay. But then, like, last night I played a song from it because we were like, it's like 2 a.m, we were driving back from like the show or whatever, and I put on like the song Time Trap, and I'm just like, I'm like on top of the world right now. So it's like one of those records that it just like brings me back to where I need to be, I think.
What's an album, book, song, or work of art that has changed your guys' life or the trajectory of like your sound or your intentions?
Ooh, that's good.
This is why it's like not rapid fire.
Yeah.
Like,
They're-
hard.
they're
But I like
questions,
these
though.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great questions.
Laura Nero, New York Tenderberry, came out in 1969. Pretty great. No, it's an insane album because it's like the most quiet and loudest album that I've ever heard. It's the kind of thing where you're like, I can't hear what she's just on the piano. I can't hear what she's saying. And so like you turn it up to 10, and then she goes so loud, and you're like, oh my god! Like there's no way to actually, there's no volume for it. It's just it's this thing that just exists.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to keep it on 10.
Yeah.
This is gonna sound weird. This is really random. I'm gonna do it. Fucking Dracula is like one of the best books of all time. It is terrifying, and it's so beautiful. It's all epistolary, so it's all like letters and newspaper clippings, and everyone like the book starts with this unknown person being like, okay, you're not gonna believe me, but there's this guy called Dracula, and he's a fucking vampire, and there's all of this evidence that I have gathered to prove it to you that it's true. And it kind of just takes all of these little diary journal entries from all these different characters that are all like really close friends that just love each other, and they had this like, and Dracula keeps just trying to kill them all, and they're just like so sweet, and they all eventually like halfway through the book are like, fuck this, like we're just gonna kill Dracula, like I don't know how we're gonna do it, but we're gonna fucking do it, and they all just like band together and just like go after it. It's so good. I don't know why that has struck a chord with me so much. I don't think it has anything to do with my music really that much, but in terms of just like how that book is structured, it's just like, it's one of those books you're like, ooh, this is kind of spooky, and you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna cry. This is beautiful. Yeah. So Dracula, I think that's just like my favorite book.
That's awesome.
Can it be like a performance?
Yeah.
When me and Andrew graduated high school, we went to Osheaga,
Oshega.
Oshega.
I think that it's either one. It's like I don't think anyone has actually.
I've heard
Figured
more
it out.
Oshegas
Yeah,
than
that hasn't been cleared up
Oshegas,
yet.
but alright, we'll find out.
Yeah,
In
we have
the
to go.
comment section.
Exactly. But on the second night, the Black Keys closed, and I had never seen the Black Keys live before. And it's crazy because it's just those two dudes, Aaron Back and I don't know what the other guy's name. I'm not even like a Black Keys guy, but it was like an electrifying performance, and like it was like the biggest I've ever seen a band sound, and it was only two people. And that performance, like just seeing like it was like I feel like there was millions of people. It was not, but it felt like just like the most people I've ever been around in my life. And
I need to give a little context to that.
Yeah.
Basically, when I was 18, I loved crowd surfing. That was like totally my thing. And so there was a certain, like we were at that festival for 2 days, and the whole time Slater was just like, "You gonna go up?" I'm like, "I'll let you know when I'm ready." And like it was like during that show, and I was like, "Put me up there," and I crowd surfed, and I just got pushed all the way to the front, and he followed me. I think
that was the strategy that we came up with. Andrew goes up, and then I like hold his foot and like kind of just go with it.
Yeah.
He's going up, and
But-
that's
Yeah,
how
so
you get to the front. of any
so
show.
we were in the far back. I got up, and literally they just started throwing me towards the front, and I landed like in like mud and like rocks, and like I was just like, "Where am I?" And I was front row for that headlining show, and like we were just standing right there, and it's like we were just looking at two people play to thousands of people. Yeah, that was a life-changing moment for me too.
Yeah, that was a really big moment for Andrew.
Hey, man, that was a BFF moment.
Yeah, that's great. I was supposed to go.
Tom had a ticket, but he didn't have a passport.
He realized last minute that you need a passport.
But the
We were
Okay.
we were 18.
You don't though. That's where we all fucked up. Is we should have just gone and you had a driver's license and like honestly, two people crushing it, amazing performance, made me want to rock out.
Amazing, yeah.
What is the one song you wish you wrote?
Oh god. I wish I wrote the song "The Worst in You" by Andy Schauf. I think Andy Schauf is like one of the best lyricists of all time, and that song like. With what he's saying and just like the instrumentation and the vibe, like that is a song that like if I wrote that, I would like hang up my gloves and be like, that's it. What about you, Andrew?
I wish I wrote "California" by Joni Mitchell. I will go to my grave wishing I wrote that. Tom.
I wish I wrote Two-Headed Boy. Is it part 2? Yeah.
Part 2 by Nicho Milko, tell you.
Yeah, that's the one that like it's Two-Headed Boy part 2 is one.
Yeah, definitely part 2, not part 1.
They're both great, but I wish I wrote that one.
Yeah.
If you could score the soundtrack for any book, what book would you choose?
Whoa.
What if it's like a book that became a show and then like that's what I'm thinking about?
Yeah.
Show.
Like-
Just like when you like watch something or read something and you're like, I know the exact way I would want this to sound. Like,
Honestly, Westworld like has these crazy covers that are is it the Game of Thrones guy? I think that's what Quinn told me in the car. It's the same composer that does the Game of Thrones. There's also another show that I think has like the best composition ever. I should know this guy's name. Seriously, but that yeah, I would say Westworld.
You're doing shows, not books.
That's
I
not
mean,
a book.
yeah, but they gave me some wiggle room.
Oh,
Okay.
really? Alright.
All right, well, sorry.
No, that's
Westworld, the book.
we write the book so you can
fine. The fucking Westworld book.
That too.
I don't know. I think Running with Scissors. I could do that. I think I can make that a good soundtrack because it's about it's like a memoir. It's about like a kid trying to figure out like who he is, and like I feel like I can make some like really like almost corny like nostalgic acoustic music to like for like the first half, and then like when he like smokes weed for the first time or like loses his virginity, I could play some like dark kind of upbeat rock at the same time. I think Running with Scissors would be good.
Is there already an On the Road movie that I just didn't see?
I don't think so.
Okay, On the Road. I wouldn't be able to do it. I would want it to be jazz, so I'd have to I would need
Learn
help.
how to do that.
Right.
I would need help. But I have some ideas for that.
Yeah.
If the new album was a food, what food would it be?
Oh God. You want to answer it?
Spaghetti.
Yes,
Spaghetti.
That is
yes.
so
I know a reason why. I love spaghetti, but also I am so goddamn broke all of the time, and especially so during the making of this record, like the year it's taken. So my phrase for when I'm broke and I'm trying to be more responsible about that, I call it spaghetti season, because I'll just eat only spaghetti, and that's kind of what this year has been like for me. It's been spaghetti season. Also my Insta handle.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely would be spaghetti for me.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
What do you got?
Mine, you guys, I'm gonna have to provide some context too. It's not really gonna make sense. It would be peas.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'll tell you why.
Yeah, let's hear this.
I'll tell you why. It's because when I was growing up, my mom always made me pasta and peas. Loved it. Shells and peas, my favorite meal. I always thought it was the best. I was like, why isn't everyone eating pasta and peas? Like, why isn't this a thing? Like,
Sounds
my friends
gross.
aren't eating it, but it's so
Yeah,
good.
you're alone in that.
And that's like, and I always ate it being like, I don't give a shit. Like, this is pasta and peas. Like, it's so good. And that's how I feel about this record, in that it's like, I don't give a shit if you don't like pasta and peas. It's the best. Pasta and peas is so good. And if you don't like it, that's fine. You probably haven't tried it. But, because if you did, you'd know. But you know, it doesn't matter, because pasta and peas, it'll be there when you need it.
It's like
When you
spaghetti.
find-
It's cheap, you can make a lot of it, it's good shit.
I think mine would be water. I think.
Get out of here. That's
Yeah.
not food. Do a
It's
fucking
food.
food. No, it's
Food.
not.
Water's not
Like
food.
it's like necessary.
Yeah,
for
that's-
you.
But
Yeah.
that's
I had this whole like poem I was about to get.
Alright,
Okay,
I'm sorry.
alright.
I'm sorry. Do your poem.
Well, alright. No, I was gonna say sparkling water just because there's a line in one of my songs, Silver Screen, and I say where the water's sparkling,
Yeah.
and I'm not talking about sparkling water, but it's really funny to think that like
That's
I'm
what you
saying
are.
like the
Yeah.
place where all the water is sparkling.
It's like the best restaurant.
You could be there right now. So, but going back to the water thing, everybody should drink water. It's really important. And I want the water is like life juice, and I want this album to be like life juice for
Yeah.
the listener. So I hope there are people out there that are like getting something from this album, like we got from like albums that like saved our lives. Like
Right.
I just hope that that's happening.
Yeah. One of our last questions, we'll tailor it to your guys' album. It is, so the song Blame on it
Mm-hmm.
is interesting because the album's about like making amends and stuff. So I guess our last question to you is, what role does blame take when it comes to like making amends and moving forward with stuff?
Sure. It's actually interesting that you picked that song, because that's a song that me and you talked a lot about.
Yeah.
We to kind of like get our team, if you will, like the people we work with, more acclimated with what the record was. They asked if we all could just kind of like write like basically like an album description, so like go song by song and write paragraphs kind of explaining what they mean. And when we got to Blame, it's not my song, so I didn't really know. Me and Andrew had this long talk about it, and I think what we started to figure out is like, if you're looking at this notion of blame, whether it's blaming yourself or like looking for somebody to blame, I always thought it's really interesting because in that song you're like, I don't fucking know who to blame. There's got to be someone to blame.
Right.
Like, and what we kind of realized is like, wait, no, it doesn't. The problem is that you don't know who to blame and that you can't find that person or that thing. The problem is that impulse in general to do that. Like when something goes wrong or you fuck up or someone does something shitty to you, you're trying to just looking for like a scapegoat. And I think when we were talking about that song, we're just like, wait, no, that's not right. Like you got to go the other way. You got to go to the opposite end of the spectrum and try and either move on from it, or forgive, make amends if that's kind of your thing, or just to kind of get out of that wallowing self-pity thing, that pity party. That was my take on it, at least. I don't know if you feel differently, but I think
Yeah, I think that song, for me, it has a lot to do with like outside forces and inside forces, and both flow in ways that aren't very controllable, and I think that song was supposed to make the listener or me realize it's okay to not control everything, and to like look at yourself and realize that you can't control everything, and you kind of find peace within that, and forgiveness and amends within that kind of realization. So that's, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
It's been so fun.
Yeah.
This felt really good.
Yeah, super nice to meet you.
Active Bird Community. We hope you guys enjoyed it. It was definitely one of our favorites.
For sure.
Yeah. And yeah, follow them on social media. Definitely listen to their album. It's incredible, incredible music. Follow us on social media.
Yep.
Reach out to us if you have somebody you want to hear an interview from. If you want to be interviewed.
Yeah, we're always looking for more artists and...
Yeah. And we definitely just want to say a huge thank you to all the artists that we've interviewed this year. It was such a pleasure and such a joy for us. We hope it was for you too. And we can't wait to see what 2019 has to offer.
Yeah, so have a happy holiday.
Yes.
And holidays.
Yes.
And we'll see you in the new year.